In this episode of the Leadership Hustle, we're going to dispel some of the myths that people believe about emotional intelligence. Hello, and welcome to the Leadership Hustle for executives whose companies are growing fast and need leaders who are ready. Welcome back to the Leadership Hustle. I'm Andrea Fredrickson, and today...
Michelle Hill.
Anyway, we're co-hosting the Leadership Hustle today, and our topic today is about emotional intelligence. There's a lot of buzzwords.
Yes.
It's become a big buzzword. I mean, I remember in the 80s when the whole idea of emotional intelligence became something, and that was obviously decades and decades ago. But I think that because we're using the word a lot more, it's become a buzzword, and I don't think people really understand what it is and what it means. Are you hearing something like? I mean, are you hearing that?
Yeah. And it's kind of like a roller coaster. It seems like it from year to year. You're hearing the buzzword, and then it goes away for a while. Then you're hearing it. I feel like it's back again. But yes, I think it. I always have to clarify with people. What are you looking for? What are you wanting to accomplish when we talk about emotional intelligence and bringing information to your people?
Right.
What specifically?
You know, I hear people confuse it with psychological safety.
Yes.
Like, well, there's a component of it that can help with that, but
Yes.
it's not exactly the same. So we've got a couple of myths we want to bust up and get rolling into not only what those myths are, but then what really is emotional intelligence.
Yes.
And in discussing, why it's important and what you can do to improve it. So do you have one that you want to kick off the session with a myth?
Well, I think part of that myth is it's about, people will assume it's about controlling those emotions, right? And I think that the famous thing people will hear both you and I say, we can't control our first thought, but we can control the second one. And that's that your emotions are part of that thought. That's why that thought exists, actually, was the emotion that was tied to it. Where it's actually looking at it as more of helping us, that emotion is really more data. It's like it's helping us kind of tune in a little more to what's happening to us.
What's the signal that's going on?
Exactly. And it keep going, yes.
Well, it's something triggered us.
Yes.
And controlling our emotions is simply being aware of, it's not really about controlling our emotions, it's being aware of how we're behaving in that moment. It doesn't mean that you can't be mad. It doesn't mean that you can't be frustrated or sad or incredibly happy, but just recognizing that there is something that has triggered an emotion, and are you aware of it?
Correct.
Period.
Correct.
And so what we do with it, that's a whole nother story, but simply being aware that emotions are emotions that are caused by something that's happened to you in the past, or it's being reminded of something.
Yes.
Right.
It's giving you more information.
Right.
Yes.
Another one I hear is people thinking that it's all about you just be nice.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. No, emotional intelligence is not about being nice. I mean, it's fine that you are nice.
It's not about tiptoeing around things.
Right.
Because really, when we are more aware and we are more curious, we then can have better conversations.
Yeah. So with the emotional intelligence, if a person is truly emotional intelligence, yes, you can hold people accountable. Yes, you can have those tough conversations. Yes, you can be direct with people. You can be that person that can help someone discover this is not working well and some behaviors need to change.
Correct.
It is about being accountable, but it's just not about being nice. It's about being respectful.
Yes. Thank you. It is that whole. People mistaken it for that being nice, when in all reality, it's about being respectful. And what is that best approach where ultimately people feel safe? Going back to that confusion of psychological safety, it's about when the more awareness, that greater awareness we have, it helps us create a safer space for people. When people feel safe, then they're going to speak up, which is going to allow us then to have better conversations. It's not about being nice.
Right. So, do you have another myth that you want to bust up?
Oh, I don't know why I'm blank today.
Okay.
So what's yours?
The other one that I hear is either you have it or you don't. Right?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, so there are people that struggle with emotional intelligence. We are not going to deny that.
Oh, yes, really. It's like everything now, spectrum, right?
Right. And so the reality is, like any skill, you can learn and you can get better at it. You can be taught about it.
Yes.
But it really is like any skill, people have to become aware of what it is, when it's happening, what's happening.
How do I build it?
How do I build it? How do I get better at it? But it isn't an all or nothing thing.
No.
People who really, really struggle from a variety of reasons, biological and relational kinds of situations that don't recognize their emotional, where they are in that emotional intelligence, can learn to recognize under certain circumstances, this is how you react. These are the things that you should be thinking or saying. These are some things that you might want to consider to make the relationship better.
Yes. Well, and even it's part of recognizing when something frustrates you and why are you really frustrated. It's not always, we make a lot of assumptions that it's the person and sometimes it's the process. There's lots of things that are going on there. Right. And the more aware they become, one, that this is frustrating, how they're responding impacts people.
Yeah.
Right. It's that ripple effect. And is that their intent? Most often it's not. So then therefore, how do we develop this skill?
Right. So let's now take everybody back to what actually is emotional intelligence. What is it? Okay.
So when we think about emotional intelligence, I think about it as a skill where, and Goleman does a great, I guess, analogy or how he breaks it out. Yep. But it's twofold. It's first, it's developing knowing more about myself. What are my triggers? How do I feel about this? What's the stories behind it? Are those stories factual? Are they assumptions? And do I need to get curious to understand and learn more about myself? And how do I manage that? Myself, yes. Okay. That's the first component. It's learning about ourselves and does it align with my intentions and managing it. The second component is going to be the recognizing of others. Not making assumptions. We recognize something's different. We recognize
behavior change.
Yes.
Reaction change. Facial expression change.
Yes.
The little vein in somebody's head popped out.
Yes.
Something happened.
Yes. And it's recognizing something's different. But then again, how do I get curious to not make assumptions because I don't have facts here. I just have what I'm seeing, right? Or hearing a little bit. And how do I stay calm and understand, ask questions, understand what's going on with them. Yep. How are they feeling? Why are they feeling that way? And that ultimately is going to help us build those relationships that build the trust, that builds the psychological safety, so people then can be open and honest. But when we lead with our assumptions that are not factual and we're just guessing, it more often than not is inaccurate, and it's going to take us down that negative path. So
emotional intelligence is a self-awareness, a self-regulation, and others' awareness and regulation and curiosity to help manage the relationship.
Yes.
So Goldberg does a really good job, like you said, with that. So as we talk about this emotional intelligence, it's becoming a bigger and bigger component of people's vernacular and conversations and lots of things in leadership and relational kinds of things. So why is this a topic that we should be talking about with our audience?
Well, it has a huge impact on how they show up every day. And it has a huge impact on how others feel about working with the people in the organization. It has a huge impact on your culture. Mm-hmm. It has a huge impact on whether people feel safe or not. The more aware we are, we're moving that more in a safer direction. The less aware we are, the more frantic and I got to defend myself, that fight or flight, right?
Right.
What else do you think?
So there's research that shows that greater than 50% of someone's success in business is tied to someone's ability to be aware of their behaviors and regulate based upon the circumstances, not blowing up or not just becoming so quiet that there's no conversation, being able to recognize when something changed in somebody else's behavior that we probably need to Tell me more about that, right?
Yeah, what's going on?
When coworkers and people who work together, leaders, families, and things like that, when we're talking, people's ability to be much more successful in the workforce, let alone any other part of their world, is greatly affected by that. Yes, you have to have an IQ. Yes, you have to have some ability to, there's a personality that comes along with that. It doesn't change any of those things. But simply managing that process, I think, is super important.
It is.
So one of the things that I have done recently is talk to people about, do they recognize when they're triggered? Like when they're, I talk about extreme behaviors, but even just marginally expressive behaviors, whether it's when you get really excited, what do? I'll hear women who will squeal, or I'll hear this, that kind of thing. It's like, okay, my brain goes, slow it down, right? Or, recognize when they're frustrated or angry or sad. It's like, do you recognize that their emotion? And the number of people that are simply not aware of in the moment how they are feeling, let alone how they're coming across. Are there things that you're asking your audiences to do?
Well, part of it that when working with individuals, it is about a little more about what are their default behaviors? Like, what are their tendencies? Do they expect things to happen quickly? And if it doesn't, do they get frustrated? What's happening there? So the more aware that they can become of just simply as how do they interact with people, but recognizing the impact that can have on people. So therefore, even when you go into communication, there's always misunderstanding. Right. Those intentions versus impact. So it's getting better at recognizing what might be triggers, what might be some things that frustrate you when you're in the workplace, and then how do you respond? And are you responding off of assumptions or facts? So leading a little more into how can you be more effective in those situations?
Right.
So talking through that.
So asking yourself, am I aware? Like just taking an inventory of, how are you feeling after emails? How are you reacting when people come into your space?
Yeah, an email. If I'm triggered and frustrated, let's pause, because that's data that's telling me there's something I'm frustrated with. If I continue typing, I may respond in a way that's not effective.
Yeah. How many people have we been telling us?
It's like
I'm going to write this email and then I'm going to delete it. Like, make sure there's no
two.
Nobody in the address line, right? Okay. So as we bring this up, there are things that we can do to become better, and one of them is just recognizing when you're triggered.
Yes, it's recognizing what those triggers could be, but then also journaling daily in the sense of reflection. So, whether it's when you leave a meeting or, you've checked all your emails, it's like, how did I feel? How am I feeling? How did I feel?
Yeah.
So they can start like pinpointing more specifically, what is some of it's like getting facts, right?
And we don't have to wait till the evening to journal.
No, well, they're not going to remember the morning.
Right.
So that's why it's like, when you kind of bucket it off a little bit on if I just got done working on X emails, or I just came out of a meeting, how did I feel? Were my intentions, did I, deliver my intention, how I hoped to be, right? Be seen, how did I show up, and so forth.
Well, and I think that's a second thing that people can do is just stop and think in the meeting, how am I coming across? Like, what energy am I giving off? Is it an angry energy? Is it a happy energy? Is there just energy that's coming across? Or is it something very sullen? Or how are people perceiving me at this moment? Just simply watch it out. How am I coming across? Am I slumped back in my chair? Am I sitting up at the table? And so in an environment where there are other people, yes, we still need to be paying attention to what the other person is saying.
Correct.
And we need to be listening, remembering we think 3 times faster than other people talk. But you can be aware of what other people may be taking from you during that meeting or one-on-one.
Well, and how do they respond?
Right.
In the moment, does this person, does it feel like they're defending themselves? Okay, maybe I just said something that was misunderstood. How might that have happened, right?
And I think we have to start getting good at watching people's micro behaviors.
Yes.
So is there an extra pause? Is there an extra, I'm looking down and instead of looking up? Is it, I'm looking up? And by the way, when we look up, that doesn't mean I don't like it. For me, I look up, I'm looking for my brain
I'm
for
thinking,
the answer.
yes.
I'm thinking for something,
But
right?
people could, this just came up with a group, a person mentioned that they got feedback. So that was the other thing I was going to say, seek feedback.
Oh, good.
Specifically, what are you noticing in the meeting? How might I be misunderstood and so forth? But they received the feedback and it appeared as though they were rolling their eyes.
Oh, as opposed to simply looking
Thinking.
up
Yes.
and thinking.
Yeah. Because they would do it really quick, just kind of like how do I, want to respond to this, that pause. And it was misunderstood.
So being aware of thinking yourself, like how am I coming across? What am I thinking? How am I being triggered? Looking and watching other people's behaviors. What kind of energy are they feeling from me or gaining from me? What, how do they think I'm showing up? And then getting feedback from someone else is a huge way, especially if you can start building some trust. Like how are how am I coming across in a meeting? We get lots of people say, well, you have RBF. I'm like, well, so how do I manage that? Right?
I mean, really, we all do.
We all do. So, but we always go below the line thinking somebody's doing something bad or negative
Correct.
or thinking, as opposed to maybe they're processing or they're doing something different.
Well, and I love that you brought up that below the line. I just had a group last week. They use that concept and where they safely, they've created the idea that it's safe where if someone appears to start going below the line, they will actually literally just say that, like, okay, this feels a little below the line. How do we get this above?
Right. Nice.
Yeah. So they're using that tool that technique to nicely call each other out.
Right. No, I get that. I think that there's creating that language and a culture that this isn't being critical. This is simply being factual or statement. Yes. It's like, we all understand. We
all do it.
Below the line. And so that's awesome. So today's episode is a quick episode on just emotional intelligence is more than a buzzword. It's
more than being nice.
It's more than being nice. It's more than simply just controlling yourself. It's simply, it's more about being aware and managing or regulating how respectful you're coming across so that the relationship is better with the other person, but also being others aware and recognizing that they may need something from you, and how can you be curious about knowing what that is. Yes, there are lots of techniques, and if you ever need help on any of those kinds of things, reach out to us, because we spend a lot of time in the realm of emotional intelligence. Thanks for joining us on this episode of The Leadership Hustle, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode.